And we still have a long ways to go before all of, well, this finally starts to melt.
This is just a glimpse of what we've seen all throughout Springfield. These trees, which are just down, it is everywhere in Springfield. There was basically nowhere we drove where we didn't see trees down that are impacting people.
This is what was wrapped around my vehicle that I finally managed to chip off yesterday. You get an idea of how thick some of that ice is.
For residents, and it does not call. Oh wow, a huge tree just fell right on a car that was driving. I don't know if you caught that, but a huge tree branch just fell right now on top of this car, and they made it through. It must have fallen right at the edge of the car.
As I'm sure many of you are aware, we're now into day 3 since we've been dealing with all of this ice, since the ice and frozen rain came down on Saturday, and we're continuing to have more of the same today.
Well, it is a year later, and hey, questions still remain. Is the region able to handle another similar disaster?
Some people still recovering from that historic storm. There were downed trees, power lines, thousands left without power, and widespread closures of schools as well as state highways.
KVAL's Tiffany Lewis sat down with EWEB and Springfield Utility Board discussing what lessons were learned from last year's weather emergency.
On this exact day last year, this power line behind me was down across the road, weighed down by heavy ice caused by the 2024 historic ice storm.
I was actually away from my home when the storm started, and traveling back in the middle of the night. We were coming down this road here, and this power pole right behind me was completely tilted over into the road. Lines were down. We were at the top of a hill, so we couldn't see past it. So we had to turn around and go back into town and stay with family.
Like many EWEB staff members, Smith was not only managing her personal response to the storm, but also working on the utility's emergency efforts. EWEB had 250 staff members working 16-hour shifts for 2 weeks to restore power to 38,000 customers. At the peak, 24,000 EWEB customers were without electricity, but within a week, 97% of outages were resolved.
Things were a little bit difficult, so I stayed at a Motel 6 for a few nights just so I could keep working throughout the night. It was a lot, and you know, I don't think personally I was as prepared as I needed to be in that situation. So, you know, my family, we've spent the last year on you know, do we need a generator? What size generator do we need?
To encourage community readiness, EWEB launched the Pledge to Prepare program, a 12-month plan designed to help people build emergency supplies and strategies. Smith's home in Springfield survived undamaged, a lucky outcome considering Springfield bore the brunt of the ice storm's damage. Springfield Utility Board faced sharp criticism for the response to the emergency.
One of the things to remember, again, just how widespread that storm was for us and for our neighboring utilities as well. So particularly there are areas that were very, very hard hit. And we were able to go in and prioritize repairs where we could get the most people up as quickly as possible.
Sub says it was the largest restoration effort in Sub's 75-year history. The majority of their system was rebuilt in less than 2 weeks. Over the past year, Sub implemented new tools including online outage reporting, push-to-text messaging, and online interactive maps that display outage areas and crew deployment. Both utilities say customers are better off than they were a year ago and are confident in their improved systems and preparedness. In Lane County, Tiffany Lewis reporting.
And today we are asking you the question at home, are you better prepared to deal with a similar emergency? Our feedback, still more people saying yes, 31 to be exact, 20 people saying no. If you'd like to take part in this poll, go ahead and scan that QR code and let us know, are you prepared? Now, at the beginning of the show, we were showing you our previous coverage. Our studio is a perfect example of someone we were hit really hard with it. We lost all power and had to report live in the field.
Yeah, so we were the ones who were also out there with you and dealing with kind of the impacts and trying to on the fly figure out how to do the news. But I think that was the thing is you and I were both out there. We got to talk to people who were like, I'm having to figure out how to do this. And I think that showed the lack of preparedness, not on an individual sake, but just the overall. We were not prepared. And obviously, we saw what the result of that was.
Absolutely. I remember walking down my street and seeing EWEB crews, and they were saying, we're on 48-hour shifts, and we just have to go home, sleep for 8 hours, and come back because it was just a rush to try to get power back and get our community back to normal again. But really, we were shut down for what felt like a week or more, and that was because we had that back-to-back storm.
And what I remember hearing from a lot of people is we prepare so often for wildfires and the emergencies that come along with wildfires. This ice storm was sort of a curveball thrown at us, and we had to adjust to that. And you know, it won't be the last ice storm we have to deal with, and certainly we're going to have to deal with wildfires continuously.
And that is something that we continue to respond to. You know, Oregon doing just that, heading down to California.